So guys, with Destiny Rising introducing to us properly the cast of Iron Lord characters in the game, those being Lord Radagast, Lord Saladin, Lady Jolder, and Lady Scory as of the time of making this video. Today I wanted to go on to confirm to you guys the abilities that we already know these characters to have, but also then go on to speculate what the remaining cast of heroes could possibly get in terms of their main abilities once they become properly fleshed out playable characters. Now, in order to do this, we're going to be looking at some of the lore that we have on websites like Ishtar Collective to kind of paint a picture as to what these main abilities could be, but where we don't have proper information on some of the abilities that they have used in the lore, I'm going to be just going off of some stuff to do with their characters that could then actually go into building out them as a fully fledged character. That said, let's start off with the already confirmed cast of characters that we've seen in the game already and go over some of the abilities I think they have, those being Lord Radagast, Lord Saladin, and Lady Scory, as these are the only three members of the Iron Lord group that we have seen so far. And obviously we have already seen Lady Jolder, but she's already a fully playable character in the game, so we're not going to actually talk about her all too much. And for Lord Radagast and Lord Saladin, we've already seen some of their major abilities. First off, with Saladin here, we see primarily in the Red Sea Rift portions of the main campaign, him very much wielding that solar axe that we were first introduced to inside of the Rise of Iron campaign for Destiny 1. He seems to have kept this axe inside of Destiny Rising, and the devs have even added some new abilities to it, with being able to produce a solar shield in front of him. Now, this shield seems to work very differently to Jolder's Bubble Titan shield, as it seems like he needs to stand there stationary holding the axe down in order to actually generate this giant shield. But it does seem to be a lot bigger than Jolder's bubble, so it's probably going to be a much stronger shield thanks to the disadvantage of you having to stay there and hold it, but that might just be for how the character acts whilst he's in the main cutscenes as an unplayable character, as I feel like it would be kind of cool for him to just plant the axe down and then for him to still be able to do some kind of combat. Moving on then, we next have Lord Radagast, who we see as an Arc Titan within this game. We see him primarily using arc punches and arc slams inside of the main cutscenes, but we do also see in the intro cutscene that he is wielding his famous blade that was actually a usable artifact inside of Destiny 1. It was just called Radagast's blade, and it was just the tip of the blade, but seeing him wielding this blade, and I believe he does also have this blade at his side on his actual character model, seeing him be able to use that with arc energy and do some cool melee attacks, I think would be a very interesting design choice. And then lastly, for the known characters, we of course have Lady Scory, who is a warlock here, and in terms of the lore, she seemed to have kept her bardic ways of singing songs about the Iron Lord's adventures. Now, Lady Scory I could very easily see being a supportive character very similar to Tan 2, but I feel like there are two different ways they could go with Lady Scory. They could go down the already established route of being able to increase player damage and also being able to provide some healing to other players and herself, or they could go down an unexplored route of having this character buff actual ability cooldowns, so she could go ahead and just decrease the majority of ability cooldowns for her teammates and herself, being able to allow other people to just use those other abilities that might take a little bit longer to charge, including their supers, which I feel like would be very, very interesting. But I do feel like some healing abilities on Lady Scory would also be a great way just to flesh out her role as a support unit. Now though, with those known characters out the way, let's go and talk about some of the other Iron Lord members that we've only heard mention of inside of Rising, but actually haven't seen properly yet. And we're first going to start off with two Iron Lords that I don't actually have a whole lot of information about, or mainly about their main abilities within the known Destiny lore. Those being Lady Perun, who is a hunter, and Lord Silumar, who is a Titan. Now, Lady Perun is known for being a very good strategist, and she is even known for being able to predict enemy movements, and the only ability that I could think of for her would be that she is able to see enemies through walls, and that's about it. I don't know what kind of relic weapon she would use, but given that she is a hunter, there are a load of supers from Destiny 1 and 2 that they could take inspiration from that aren't already in the game yet, or they could give her something completely unique. And the same thing goes for Lord Silumar, who is a Titan and is known for rebuilding defenses that have fallen. So I can easily picture him as being a more defensive focused unit similar to that of Jolder, and being able to summon some kind of defensive construct in some way. Moving on though from those characters, let's go into characters that have way more information about their overall abilities, starting off with Lord Galleon, who is a hunter character in the lore and has three prominent knives that are mentioned, those being Swiftling, Occam, and Quietus, probably saying those wrong, but him being able to use these knives in a Blade Barrage style super, I feel like it would fit him very well. If they didn't want to go down this route though, they could also take into account his interest with bones, even those of the Ahamkara. Now we do know that Ahamkara are in this game, and we have already seen some very interesting Ahamkara based abilities, with one of the major characters inside of the Red Sea Rift being able to control enemy units, and we were actually able to do this inside of Destiny 1, I believe, with his artifact, so that could be a unique feature that would be very much a nice addition here for Destiny Rising, with you being able to take control of the minds of like lower level units and kind of use them as your own minions. But if they didn't want to go down that route, easily a Blade Barrage style super would fit Galleon, I think, very nicely, or if they wanted to stick with the 3 knives rather than the fan of blades that Blade Barrage generates, they could just go with a super where it's similar to Blade Barrage, but you actually have to aim the individual knives rather than it just being that full-on barrage of them. Next, let's go to talk about Lady Ephrodite here, who we don't actually have a lot of information about, but there is a prominent thing in the lore here mentioned that she is actually able to throw Saladin like a javelin, and with her sniper rifle being called Aphrodite's Spear inside of Destiny 1, her getting a spear or javelin-like relic weapon I feel like would be very, very fitting. And to make it different from the staff that Ningfei already has, I feel like they would need to keep it to a thrown weapon rather than having it be a melee weapon of sorts. So if she's able to jump into the air and throw either a giant spear at enemies or a number of spears, I feel like that would be a very nice addition. Next, let's go on to talk about Lord Timur, who in the lore of Destiny is known as a Stormtrance Warlock. As we see in one of the lore entries, he uses this super a lot. So with Stormtrance not already being in the game already, I feel like that would be a nice addition for Lord Timur and would fit in with the lore very, very nicely. And then to end off here, we of course have my personal favourite Iron Lord, that being Lord Felwinter. Now, we don't actually know much of his abilities, though we can take them from his helmet inside of Destiny 2, with them being void focused, but I don't feel like that's enough to go off of. So what I've done is I've actually come up with my own abilities for him that go into his past as being a creation of the Warmind Rasputin. We know that he has an interest whilst he was alive with the Warminds, even though he had no memory of him being a Warmind creation, so I feel like him being able to generate some Warmind or Warsat themed abilities would be really cool, with him being either able to generate a field where some Warsats would fall from the sky to do some large AoE damage, or with him being able to kind of generate those Warsat-like sentries that we see inside of one of the cutscenes inside of Destiny 2, I feel like would be very, very cool. And these could act either similarly to the buddies that we have inside of Destiny 2, be it the Arc Soul or Solar Soul, where it kind of hovers around you and fires at nearby combatants, or it could work similarly to how the stasis turret works, where you place it down and then it shoots at any nearby enemies but stays where it's planted. That I feel like would be a very unique and interesting ability for Felwinter to have, and would fit in very nicely with his lore as a Warmind creation if they wanted to go down that route. And one final thing for Felwinter, I feel like it would be really, really cool if they did add back his signature weapon, that being the Felwinter's Lie shotgun, and with them adding in a brand new tier of weapons, that being Mythic, I feel like it would be a really cool Mythic shotgun for him to wield. And with that said, that's all I have for you guys here today in this video. So did you like my ideas about potential future abilities for these famous Iron Lord characters? And if not, what ideas do you guys have for future abilities that these characters could use inside of Rising? With that said though, that's all I have for you guys today, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, I would very much appreciate it. And with that all said, I'll see you all in the next one.